The task of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty is one the president has promised will be accomplished by the federal government within the next 10 years. Sharing in this optimism is the Alumni Association of the University of Lagos. It believes that all hands must be on deck to help the government achieve this goal. The chairman, Program Subcommittee of the Alumni Golden Jubilee Anniversary, Wahid Olagunju, says that the association has bought into the government's vision as captured by the theme of the alumni's 50th anniversary. Mr. Olagunju was a guest on our breakfast program, Sunrise.
The theme for the celebration is driving Nigeria's sustainable development agenda. The association is making itself very, very relevant because we realize that Nigeria needs help developmentally. And that's why the lecture and the sustain and the creative illustration have to do with the sustainable development goals. Because this is a tested strategy adopted globally for us to get out of poverty by 2030. And that tallies with the president's vision of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over the next 10 years. No government can do this alone, national or subnational. Other development partners, all stakeholders, all hands must be on deck, including the private sector, community-based organizations, non-development organizations, as well as our international development partners. So we are working together with all of them to ensure that we catalyze Nigeria's development. There is no waiting. Between now and 2030, between now and 2050, we must all work hard to ensure that we at least quadruple Nigeria's GDP from about 420 billion now to about 1.6 trillion between now and 2050. Because that's the only way we can ensure high living standards for about 450 million Nigerians.
The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has been eulogizing former military head of state General Yakubu Gowon as he marks his 85th birthday. President Buhari says that the virtue of General Gowon is rare amongst prominent public figures in the country. He was speaking through the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, at an event organized by the Institute for Governance and Leadership Studies in Africa in Abuja.
He is a simple man. He is also a good man. This rare combination of virtues is seldom found in any prominent public figure. His main claim to fame is his stewardship of Nigeria through the turbulent times of strife and civil war in the late 60s. Under his leadership, Nigeria laid the foundation of economic development and political reconciliation. Some of his landmark achievements include pioneering the ECOWAS in our sub-region and the introduction of the National Youth Service Corps, the NYSC, at home. General Gowon's patience, adherence to Dur, and furthermore, patriotism are perhaps the defining characteristics of his public life. As a man, he is personal, likable, devoid of malice or bitterness. He is, in fact, a complete gentleman.
In the meantime, the celebrant has been expressing his appreciation to Nigerians as he marks his 85th birthday. General Gowon says that Nigeria made him what he has become, and he remains proud to be called a Nigerian.
I thank God for making me a Nigerian and giving me the opportunity and helping me to ensure that Nigeria continues. For the sake of all of you, the younger ones, I can assure you the younger people encourage me to make sure that from the future, Nigeria is there for you to make it better, and I believe that you can make it better. So I'm grateful to God and grateful to all Nigerians, old and young. And I'm grateful to your fathers, grandfathers who worked with me, and all the younger ones that came after, during my time and after my time. I can assure you there is that appreciation, and whatever I have achieved, yes, I owe it to Nigeria. I owe it to Nigeria. And whatever Nigeria is doing as achieving, we should thank God for what we are doing, not only for our country, but for our region, for Africa, as well as for humanity.
It is wishing the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, many more happy returns. The call for the scrap of State Independent Electoral Commission, SIEC, and for the transfer of the responsibility of conducting local government and state houses of assembly elections to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, continues to gather reactions, as many argued it will reduce the level of compromise in the system. In our next report, Channels Television speaks to representatives of some political parties, as well as leaders of pressure groups, to get their opinion.
The establishment of the Independent National Electoral Commission, as well as the State's Independent Electoral Commissions in 1998, ushered in Nigeria's Fourth Republic in 1999. While INEC concentrates on the conduct of the Presidential, National Assembly and State Governors elections, SIEC has the legal duty to conduct local government and state houses of assembly elections. Although the electoral bodies have worked together to conduct at least 5 electoral circles since 1999, there has been some agitations to scrap the State Independent Electoral Commissions in recent times.
The urgency of scrapping the State Independent Electoral Commission is overdue. They should have done it a long time ago. What you have in those local governments is not democracy. You see a situation whereby a governor conducts an election and he returns 400 over 400 councillors. How possible? They just sit down there and write the result. This is not good for democracy, because the foundation for democratic advancement is rural politics, where people will be able to where people will have the ability to choose their leaders in those rural areas. Once you get it right, democracy will start advancing.
Efforts to make elections reflect the wish of the people has led to several electoral reforms since 1999. Many, however, still believe that more of such reforms are needed, especially as it concerns elections at the state level.
CX and INEC share the same power. There's no seniority between both of them. One is Dr. Gowon. They have the same power from the same constitution. So if local government elections are supposed to reflect and represent the reason why parties must be registered, then that constitutional provisions must be looked into and must be reviewed, because one, CX had not made their own part of the bargain. So for us, these are where we stand on bottling of INEC, restructuring, taking the election from the CX and taking to INEC, or creating a different body for it to conduct election in Nigeria, and making sure that the election represents the true wishes of our people.
Elections are the only legitimate means of choosing political leaders in a democracy. Hence, the need to ensure that the integrity of the process is not compromised cannot be overemphasized.
A total of 1.7 trillion naira of depositors' funds is being protected under the bridge bank mechanism initiated by the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. The Director of Communications and Public Affairs at the corporation, Dr. Sunday Uluyemi, explains that the corporation is adopting a mechanism to resolve the failure of 3 banks in 2011 and 2018. He was speaking on behalf of the Managing Director of the corporation, Alhaji Umar Ibrahim, ahead of the 30th anniversary celebration.
The Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation building, wearing a new look as the agency marks 30 years of its existence. Established in March 1989, the corporation has the mandate to guarantee deposit of bank customers. The management of the corporation is using this 30th anniversary to look back at the journey so far, including how the agency has been securing depositors' fund over the years.
To date, the NDIC has paid a cumulative sum of over 8.25 billion as insured amount to 442,999 depositors of closed deposit money banks, paid over 2.97 billion to 83,400 415 depositors of closed microfinance banks and over 70.53 million to 869 depositors of closed primary mortgage banks. It should interest you to know that the Bridge Bank initiative safeguarded 12,667 jobs, protected depositors' liability of over 1.759 trillion, which ensured that depositors had uninterrupted access to their funds.
The corporation presently provides deposit insurance cover for 27 deposit money banks, 918 microfinance banks, 34 primary mortgage banks, and 2 non-insurance banks. They hope that an amendment of the 2006 NDIC Act will cater for contemporary challenges confronting the corporation.
Over the years, the corporation confronted and successfully resolved many challenges. Such challenges include lack of enforcement power, protracted litigation initiated by owners of closed banks, recovery of debt-owned failed banks, inadequate public awareness, among others. Our proposed solution to these challenges are contained in our proposed amendment to the NDIC Act.
The corporation is hosting several activities to mark its 30th anniversary. They include special anniversary prayers and Thanksgiving service, anniversary health walk and novelty football match, anniversary lecture, and a book presentation.
You're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, reaching you live from Lagos. Let's quickly join Bisi Adebayo now for more business reports.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The International Monetary Fund is promising stronger collaboration with African economies to help mitigate the effects of economic uncertainties. The managing director of the IMF, Ms. Kristalina Georgieva, explains that with a slowdown in global growth, the fund will continue to provide support to nations to overcome economic challenges. She was speaking at the ongoing World Bank IMF meetings in Washington, D.C.
For the last 5 days, attention has been focused on how global economies can improve growth. Developing economies have a higher task, especially in generating revenue, boosting trade, and providing basic infrastructure for its people. At this meeting, which comes as a climax to the 5 days meeting, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund provides solutions on how Africa can overcome its many challenges. She sees the adoption of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and the adoption of a single currency for the region as key towards unlocking the economic potentials of the continent.
The African nations have taken a very important step forward through the Continental Free Trade Agreement. This is going to be a foundation of integration in the region, in the continent actually, not in the region, in the continent. A long way to travel, but the first step has been taken. And to my mind, what is so very important for Africa is to reach its full potential.
One way to achieve these lofty gains, according to some experts, lie in the political will of its leaders, which they say must be taken seriously.
The issue of a currency union is a political project. Just in the same way that the euro was a political project, the creation of a monetary union on the African continent would have to be a political project. There are important learnings to be done. There are preconditions that must be met. And as the lessons from Europe show us, if you are to create a monetary union, you actually need deeper integration. You need to ask questions about a fiscal union. You need to ask questions about a banking union. And all of these things are complex.
If recommendations for attaining fiscal and financial stability are painstakingly followed by governments in Africa, particularly Nigeria, a lot more could be achieved in growing the economy better and also achieve economic security for the generality of Nigerians.
The Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria wants President Muhammadu Buhari's Economic Advisory Team to escalate the issues confronting traders in the capital market in order to revamp the confidence of investors in equities. The president of the association, Mr. Patrick Ezeku, tells Channels Television after a visit of the team to the Nigerian Stock Exchange that one of the main concerns of the investors is the issue of VAT on capital market transactions. And so the Nigerian equities market will plunge further in the red this week amidst continued investor apathy and a lack of positive catalyst, with the all-share index touching a 52-week low of 26,448.62. Sustained sell-offs across Tier 1 banks dragged the banking index to a 2.0% loss, and the industrial goods and oil and gas indices also recorded declines. Meanwhile, the insurance index resumed its upward trend following a break in a 3-week gaining streak in the previous week, while the consumer goods index followed suit, recording a marginal gain. The total turnover of 896.61 million shares worth 16.56 billion naira in 12,638 deals were traded this week by investors. 19 equities appreciated in price during the week, led by Consolidated Hallmark Insurance, while 23 equities depreciated in price, and top on that list was Cornerstone Insurance. And that's it on Business News. Thank you for watching. I am BC Adebayo.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's home-based Super Eagles failed to qualify for the 2020 African Nations Championship after losing 4-3 to Togo in aggregate. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.